Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back one more time to the Pilates Goddess podcast. This is your host, Lynda Lippin. And today I want to talk a little bit about blended workouts, when they're safe, when they are not, and why all of a sudden we're just getting all of these blended workouts into the market kind of at one time. As you know, I am a personal trainer and a classical Pilates teacher, but I've also taught plenty of contemporary Pilates. I have certification from the Physical Mind Institute, which is notably contemporary. But I was also a master teacher and lead trainer at Real Pilates in Tribeca for a number of years, which is, really the mothership in so many ways of classical Pilates here in the US. And I'm a master teacher at Bombshell Pilates, once again, a decidedly classical studio. But my issues with blended workouts don't specifically relate to Pilates and don't necessarily specifically relate to more contemporary Pilates. So let's first talk about kinds of workouts, okay? In general, we have strength training, okay? And strength training is where we are basically working the muscles anaerobically, and we are working against some kind of resistance, be that gravity, or adding weight to our bodies to make gravity just a little harder and ourselves a little heavier to have to push things and pull things. Strength training is typically not done very quickly or ballistically. Strength training can also involve mobility training. So if you think about it, if you're working on things like deep squats or strict stiff-legged deadlifts and things like that, you are clearly working on hip, knee, and ankle mobility, right, along with the strength training that you're doing. So, strength training is a good base, I think, to start any discussion about other forms of exercise. Now, I would also argue that Pilates, in many ways, incorporates elements of strength training, right? We are working against springs for resistance. We are, especially in the mat, working with and against gravity for resistance and assistance in the same way that we work with springs. So, there is definitely a slower paced resistance training, strength training aspect to the Pilates work. Then we can look at mobility work, okay? Because I brought it up with the strength training. People tend to associate things like yoga or Pilates with mobility work, but mobility work and stretching can happen really in any kind of venue and should happen in any kind of venue. So if you're looking at the gym or you're looking at, kettlebells or weight work or working with bands or tubing, then you are clearly going to have to do some mobility work before, during, and after your strength training work, right? You're not going to have an effective squat if you can't bend at your knees, your hips, your ankles. All right. You're not going to have effective shoulder work if you're not actually able to move your arms and your shoulders overhead, out to the side, back and front. You're not going to have effective back work or effective chest work if you are not able to move your shoulders and move your arms and move your shoulder blades and stabilize your midsection to get other things working. So mobility and strength for me go hand in hand. Okay. In order to get something to stretch, something else needs to stay steady. If you're stretching your right hip, you need your left hip to stay steady, right? That's how that's how the body works. So for me, they go together. Then we have cardiovascular training, right? We have cardio. People nowadays often like to do their cardio in the form of HIIT, or high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training is an effective form of cardio. It takes shorter time because you have short bursts of moving really, really quickly, followed by a break to let your heart rate come back to somewhat normal before you go into another very, very fast, intense burst of work, then followed by a break. And I personally do HIIT training. I do Tabata training for my cardio. I find it that doing kind of longer form cardio in the way we used to when we would go into the fat burning mode on, whatever piece of cardio equipment we were on. I don't have like 30, 45, 60 minutes to just do that. Okay. I would just rather get that high intensity training done quickly. Now, high intensity training can involve elements of strength, and it can involve elements of mobility. Okay. All of these are important, but once again, strength training is anaerobic. Okay. It is not aerobic exercise. It works differently in the body. You may feel your heart rate go up a little bit when you're strength training, but it is not aerobic. HIIT work or cardiovascular work is aerobic exercise. And you cannot really and effectively do both anaerobic and aerobic work in the same workout and get really the best benefits of both for your body. Now, under mobility comes your yoga, your Pilates, your stretch classes, your melt work, all of that. Those are also great nervous system resets. They also just work to relax the entire body and really, let you focus on how you're moving versus how strong you are or how fast you're going or what your heart rate is. So here's the issue now. The issue now is that we are being sold as consumers workouts that quote unquote do everything in 45 minutes. So we are being told that we can do aerobic and anaerobic work and mobility work effectively all in the same 45-minute workout. This is why now we have reformer classes, okay, that promise you a cardio effect in the reformer class. And frankly, even if you are doing jump board work on the reformer, that is still strength and mobility work. I said it, it's still strength and mobility work. It's not done super, super fast. It's done in a controlled way. You're paying attention to where your body is in space as you're jumping and moving your legs around. You might get a tiny bit of cardio element, but again, you're lying down. You're not going to get that much. It's still more mobility and anaerobic training. So where people are getting hurt is that they are trying to do all of the things at once, and then they're not getting effective work. So here's what I'm seeing like in my mat classes. And I always use my mat classes as an example here because I get people basically from all walks of life. And I get folks who do all kinds of other workouts and usually have done a fair number of other Pilates workouts before they get to my kind of classical, more strength and mobility based Pilates class. And what they tell me is that going to the faster paced classes, especially on the reformer, was kind of scary for them. They didn't always feel like they were in control. There were a lot of spring changes that they really couldn't deal with. There were different hip hinge and what they, what we might call foot in strap work, because it's not classical Pilates exercises. So where you're doing kind of bow and arrow work and lots of hip mobility work in there, but you're going fast and you're working on lighter springs. So you're doing a ridiculous number of repetitions. I have one person who said she hurt herself in a large reformer class, not even a mega former class, my friends, just a regular fast-paced reformer class. And they were doing, I think, probably a version of Eve's lunge. But again, her spring was a little too light. She was a little too mobile. There was one teacher for, I think, 30 reformers. So there was really no effective way for that teacher to give personalized cueing or any kind of hands-on work to any of those people. And she ended up hurting her back and her hip. This at the end of the day is what happens. Because again, you're moving too quickly. You're not sure what you're doing. You're not getting, the proper strength base. And then you're doing all of this kind of HIIT work and this fast-paced work with it. And the class was sold as a quote unquote cardio and strength and HIIT Pilates class on the reformer, of course, to fast-paced music. So these differences, though, are not just showing up in Pilates, okay? They're showing up in strength training studios. So you take like any of the boot camp studios, right? Or you take any of the Australian 45-minute based blended workout studios, or you take, any of these places that are selling these quick, fast-paced 45-minute workouts. I've had so many clients hurt themselves in the boot camps because you're making such quick movements with heavier weights and you're having to change weights and shift around in between movements, and you're not really given enough time to properly do it. So your back's bending in a weird way, or you're twisting in a weird way, and you just want to get the weight. And suddenly your shoulder's killing you, or your back hurts, or something else has gone wrong. Because again, these things don't all go together. And realistically, as consumers, we are doing ourselves a disservice by buying into this and doing these kinds of blended workouts. So what would I suggest you do instead? You may ask. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I personally do, okay? And then, we'll kind of extrapolate some different scenarios based on the kind of classes that are out there in the scheme of things. So what I personally do is I do 2 days a week of HIIT cardio training. Just 2 days. Each workout is maybe 25 to 35 minutes. Okay, not a lot. I do little pods of Tabata in those workouts. I usually will follow, say, the Faster Way to Fat Loss workouts on their app. That's, some of my favorite. And, if you're interested, I'll have a link to that in the show notes. But I dedicate those 2 days to doing the cardio and the HIIT. I don't try to do other workouts on those days. Maybe I will do a little bit of Pilates, focusing more on mobility, or something like that, but that's my dedicated HIIT days. Then I have 3 days a week that I dedicate to strength training. And yeah, on those days, I might take a long walk. I might, obviously I'm moving in other ways. I'm teaching the Pilates. I'm going to the studio. I'm up and down the subway stairs. I'm in and out of stores. I'm carrying things. I'm walking the dog, doing stuff. But 3 days I dedicate just to strength training. And when I do strength training, I do 1 day of a kind of blended full body workout, which is legs, shoulders, and chest. Then I do a day that's just back, biceps, triceps, and then I do a leg day. And yes, do I do something 7 days a week? Yes, I do. Those other 2 days I dedicate fully to more relaxed, calmer nervous system, strength mobility workouts like some Pilates, some yoga. That's when I might bring out my Thai 4. I might bring out my melt roller. I might bring out my Parasetter and, do work for my body that's much slower, that's much calmer, and that's still focused on strength and mobility, but in a different way. So notice, my heart rate might go up a little while I'm doing strength training, but that's still a focus on anaerobic training for me. Okay. And I still might get a little strength and mobility benefit in my HIIT workout, but that's not the focus. The focus is getting my heart rate up. Right. And yes, I might get some strength and mobility work when I'm doing my Pilates work. But again, that's not always going to be my focus. Now, some days in my strength training days, I may choose to do apparatus-based Pilates on those days. Okay. But I've been teaching all of this stuff for 35 years now. So I have a good sense of pulling together good strength training workouts within Pilates where I might be working a little bit heavier and working a little bit more on heavier spring and having maybe a little more focus on legs versus upper body, But again, there's no way that you're going to do Pilates and not have it be a full body workout, especially on the equipment. So I, won't necessarily substitute all 3 days of my strength training with Pilates, but maybe that full body workout day when I'm doing, chest, shoulders, and legs. And that's often a great day where I can focus on Pilates, all of it, the tower, the reformer, the chair, all the things, and get a good kind of strength-based workout for myself there. But I'm never going to look for doing all of that in one workout. I'm never going to do that because then I'm getting less effective workouts. Just because you walk out of a class sweating your ass off and feeling like you might want to throw up does not mean that the workout was necessarily effective. And I want you to remember this. Strength training should feel different than HIIT, should feel different from the Pilates, yoga, melt, and the other workouts that are going to focus a little bit more on a calmer nervous system. Okay. We don't need to do them all at once. We shouldn't do them all at once. We get hurt when we try to do them all at once. Yet, due to time constraints and everything else, we feel like we need to do them all at once. So here's the deal, my friends. If you say are working out 5 to 7 days a week, which most of the people in my classes are, and you are wondering how to split up those workouts effectively, here's what I'm going to say. First of all, bag Just bag all of the workouts that try to combine everything. Okay? Just leave them alone. A couple of days a week, you're going to find a class that focuses on aerobic training, whether it's HIIT or just a standard dance aerobics class. Okay? However, whatever class you want to go to, you're just going to take classes that simply focus on HIIT and cardio, whatever that looks like. Then you're going to take 2 or 3 days a week and you're going to do strength training workouts, whether that's a, say, classical semi-private or a classical reformer or tower class where you're going to be working against some heavier springs. Great. Whether that looks like going to an actual strength training class. You know, if you're a member of a gym, you have strength training classes in your gym. I know you do. And do the classes that focus purely on strength and a little bit of mobility. And then take 2 days a week and do classes that calm your nervous system. And that's that. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to start feeling better. You're going to start feeling stronger. You will start feeling more mobile and your cardio will get better. Because when you are combining anaerobic and aerobic activity in one workout, how is either one going to be effective? Seriously. I mean, think about that. And yeah, you can take breaks and you can like split things up. But again, if you're going to bother doing that, just split up your workouts. And I promise you, you will be a happier camper. You will feel better. You will get stronger. You will get all the benefits that you think you're getting from doing these blended workouts that are probably hurting you. Okay? And you will still have plenty of classes you can go to, but start to parse them out in your brain, okay, in this way. And don't be swayed. Do not be swayed by the people who tell you that you can get it all in one workout, because again, that is not how any of this works. So if you like to do a bar class or you like to do a Pilates class or you prefer gyrotonic or whatever it is that you like to do for your nervous system calming work, you do that a couple of days a week. Whatever it is that you love to do for cardio and getting your heart rate up, you do that a couple of times a week. And then you do some strength and mobility work the rest of the time. Okay? If this was interesting or enlightening for you, I would love it if you would share this episode with your friends, your colleagues, your family. And if you love the podcast, please go to Apple Podcasts or to Spotify or to my pod page and at pilatesgoddess.com. and leave a rating and or a written review. It really helps the podcast and it really helps other people find it and listen to it. So thank you so much, as always, for spending some of your day listening to me. As always, I hope that it was useful and worthwhile, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.